Now, wasn't it great to have Pastor Sonny Smith, who pastors at a church in inner city Detroit called Detroit Church? Now, he was a guest there, and he preached on a series of messages at 242 Church in Ann Arbor called You Are Enough, The Extraordinary Life. If you use that word in the Merriam-Webster dictionary, it means going beyond what is usual, regular, or customary, or to be employed for or sent on a special function or service expected. This can either be good or bad. The extra in extraordinary means outside for the ordinary. Now, this word, like you're saving a person from a heart attack and by sending somebody to a hospital, just as they did in soap operas, is actually a good thing. However, and that is a good thing, it's extraordinary. If you come home to a calm, quiet day and if you find your house has been ransacked, it's actually not a good thing, and that too is extraordinary. Now, that word I have already told you about can also mean either good or bad. Extraordinary can also mean outside of the ordinary. Now, for many years, I have dealt with a situation of competition of another person, and I know what the Bible says about competition. It says people should not compete with others out of rivalry or conceit. Instead, they should consider others as more important than themselves. Paul said in Philippians 2 3 5, do nothing out of rivalry or conceit, but in humility considers others as more important than yourselves. So, what it's saying is that competition is the system God intended when God gave people different talents in different areas to establish in a world where justice and fairness would require some greater reward for better work. Now, and as far as competing with a person in my own way, with another man, and I am ready to admit this, who has a lot in common with me and who grew up watching a wide variety of religious programming that I got to watch over the years and felt really bad for that one person, all because of somebody's sex scandal while he was growing up. While I felt bad with both ministers and before one had passed away. Now, I have to say to you, on more than one occasion, my friend is Norbert Rodriguez. He grew up watching the ministers. I have already explained to you about a wide variety of them. Not only that, he also felt really bad for Jimmy Swaggart, as you know. And I felt really bad for Jim Baker and later Pat Robertson just because Jim did something that the other Jimmy did before. Whilst with Pat Robertson, he would be ranting, going off on a tangent, really. Not to mention, I find that Pat Robertson was was really a good religious broadcaster for the most part, but it's just as that he his response to some questions were really particularly coming out of nowhere. Now, anyways, back to my friend Norbert. I have met him at a church when I was finishing high school. Both he and I did not have not one word of one conversation of each other. I was very young and unfamiliar to that church that my family and I were attending, which was Bethesda, and yet I didn't want to have any involvement in it at all and to stay with the church like a dance minister that has a dance ministry, which is called Shekinah Church. Although it was both my mother's call and God's call for me to stay at Bethesda, which I did for the following 2 decades and got to attend Sunday school, and months later, I finally got to meet Pastor Norbert Rodriguez for the first time at the Weatherly Hall of where where they have had a youth ministry there at the time, and we've had a pretty good relationship and been friends ever since. Even more incredible in the fact was we were both young men at a very young age for myself, and I'm speaking for myself really. I even opened the doors proclaiming the good news to the gospel of Christ as my brain was was opening up to the ideas and suggestions about any other topics, issues, or situations that most teenagers had to deal with at that time, especially if it's either dating or if it's anxiety or peer pressure. Now, I sat with most of the teenagers there, though I really broken out of the teenage barrier and even took notes, and I also got to participate in prayers that most teens needed to get their lives straight. And Pastor Norbert and I always loved to handle them while taking care of the many teenagers that were surrounding in that congregation. He and I both had a passion for which they will get a jump start on their own ministries. Also, what's pretty amazing is that Norbert and I are 4 years from each other, 4 years apart. And yet, he and his wife, Rachel, and his buddies, David and Chantel, whom I met in the same church we were all at, also enjoyed my company as well as we later branch out on other ministries outside of Bethesda that many of us had, and that includes the churches that they have that Bethesda does not, but they do have it right now while they're working on it, and that is to present the coffee at various Christian places. And what's so amazing was almost every church that you go to has coffee. And to make the long story short, both Ann Arbor and Ypsilanti, when you look at both of the cities, you think about the two popular cities, one being big and the other being small. They plant mustard seeds right on the ground. They they bought every building, whether if it's a church hall or if it's something else. All the churches come in, took over, and Washtenaw County is getting a response everywhere as far as everybody is taking to the next level, getting a cup of coffee, drinking it while worshiping with the entire crowd there, and so forth. Now, now the coffee always has to be drinking with the lid while you are either worshiping God or praising God. And what I find it very interesting is when I go to 242 Church, you see, I go there for the praise and for the worship and while having this coffee on me, I would drink it primarily while listening to praise and worship and trying to open my heart and my ears and my brain for whatever it is I can accomplish, and I'm going to accomplish it a whole lot more um, because I am more than enough, and I am more than enough for Christ. And as I get ready for 2024, because literally we have like 8 to 9 or even 10 weeks left of 2023 left going into 2024, I'm going to pray that I'm going to get everybody to be more than enough, go to church, participate in it, in praise and worship, drink coffee, but most of all, even get a good word out of their hearts. Bottom line. Well, I thank you very much for taking this opportunity to watch me, and I will see you tomorrow. Thanks. Goodbye.